Hi there, and welcome back to the world of Excel VBA coding. Today we are taking a look at how you can send emails through Microsoft Outlook directly from your Excel document using VBA macro code. Once you know the basic requirements for the code, you can then customize it to fit your needs. We will look at how to do this using set email addresses and then how to populate the email addresses from your data set. So you can follow along, I have added a link to the file in the description below this video. So let's VBA. Let's open up the VBA editor and do the most important step in this coding. The code we are about to write absolutely will not work until you add the Outlook reference object. Click on Tools in the top of your menu and select References. Scroll down until you find the Microsoft Outlook 16.0 Object Library and make sure that that box is checked. Then click OK. This enables the objects that we are about to use in this code. I am working in my employee management file, and I want to trigger an email to be sent whenever a new employee starts at the company. I am going to right-click on the Save Employee button and click View Code. This brings me to the code that is triggered by this button. I said that I only want this email to send when an employee is added, so I am going to scroll down to the Add Employee code. Within this code, I have it so that all of the new employee information is added to Sheet 2, and then a few more things are added to Sheet 3. You can see the full video on how I did this by checking out my userform data entry video. We want to let the macro do all its magic and then send the email, so we will scroll down right before we clear our user form, right here. We will add a note describing what we are doing, and then we need to dim a couple of variables. We will dim out app as object, and we will dim out mail as object. These variables are going to work because we added that reference library in the beginning. We want to now turn off the screen updating because as this works to open this email, we don't want the screen to flicker or even let the user know that anything is happening. So when I add application.screenUpdating equals false, I always go ahead and go down below and add in the application.screenUpdating equals true to turn it back on once we're done with all of this. Next, we need to set our out app variable to create the Outlook email. We do this by typing set out app equal to create object parentheses quote Outlook dot application close quote close parenthesis. That's it for that. We need to check that an Outlook message is not already being created by putting an if statement along with the end if. So we will say if out mail is nothing, then we can run the code. So then we'll put our end if. Now we define our outmail variable to actually create the email. So we will set outmail equal to out app dot create item, and then we're going to put parentheses 0 close parentheses. So the basic requirements are done. We now need to compose our email. Let's start by adding another note just to let us know what we're doing here. I compose email. Everything we are about to do is with our email, so we will type with out mail. Go ahead and put your end with. We will then add who the email is sending to. I am going to use a generic CEO email address. So I will put .to equals parentheses CEO at company.com, end quote. If you want to copy someone, then add the .cc. And just for here, I'm going to put hr@company.com. These are just generic email addresses. Finally, add the .subject and add a subject line that is new employee notification. And you have to put this in quotes as well. Next, we move on to populating the body of the email. We do this with a .html body equals. Now, I want to include the employee name, the employee number, title, department, and supervisor. We have all of this captured in our user form. So if we look over here at our user form, we have their name, job title, we have all of this information here. And the key thing is to note what those fields are called. So this one you can see is called Reg 1, last name is Reg 2, employee number is Reg 3, job title is Reg 12, department Reg 13, and reports to is Reg 14. So let's type this up. We'll right click and go back to our code. So now we want to make this in a way that's readable to the receiver of the email. So I'm going to put quote, employee name, colon, and I'm going to put a space after that. So that way there'll be a space between this colon and when we add the name. Now I'll close the quote and I put an ampersand sign. And then I'm going to put reg1.value. That'll give me the first name. And I'll put another one and say reg2.value. That puts the last name. Then I'm going to put an and symbol. And at this point, I want to jump down to a new line. So I'm going to put quote, and I'm going to put this little less than sign, and then I'm going to put BR greater than quote. That gives you a new line in the email. Then I'm going to put another ampersand sign. Now I want to do the employee number. Once again, with the colon, space, quote. Now at this point, I'm going to put another and symbol because we're continuing to add, but I'm running out of space here. So I'm going to do the ampersand, and then I'm going to put a space after it, and I'm going to put an underscore. That'll allow me to go to the next line. It's basically continuing this code that we have. So then for the employee number, I'm going to put, oh, it jumped on me. I'm going to put reg3.value. That's going to be the employee number. And I'm going to do the ampersand again. And once again, I want to jump to a new line. So I'm going to put our BR in there as well with an and. And now this time I want to put the job title, colon, space. We're going to just continue this same thing. The job title is reg12.value. And once again, I'm going to do the new line. And now I want to put the department, colon space. And this is going to be reg13.value. And once again, I'm running out of space, so I'm going to do another and underscore. And then I'm going to do another new line. And I'm going to do the reports to. And finally put reg14.value. It seems like a lot to keep up with it, but you know, it's okay. And a lot of times when I type these in, I do make mistakes, but the code will tell you very quickly if you've made a mistake. Now you have a decision. Do you want to display the email before it sends or send it right away? I highly recommend displaying it first. That way you'll have a chance to make changes to it if you want to. So we're going to, at this point, put dot display. And so once it runs all the code, then the email will pop up and show, and then that way you can make any changes you need to. Now, if you wanted it to automatically send without anybody looking at it, you could put .send, and you'll never see the email until you go to your sent folder. Now, a part of this, we have to handle our errors that might come up. So we're going to actually go underneath our end with, go back over here, and we're going to add an else statement. So just in case something goes wrong, we are going to do a resume next to help with our errors. So on error, resume next. And then we need to go ahead and say on error, go to 0. That'll handle any errors that we have. After the email has been created, you need to set the variables back to nothing by entering this code. Now we're going to put a little note, and then we're going to say set out mail equal nothing, and we're going to set out app equal nothing. And that's it. That's all we have to do. So at this point, let's test this code out. So we're going to go up here and we're going to hit the run button, and this pops up. Now I'm going to add a new employee. I'm going to say Joy Bell, and we're going to say she's at 911 Sleigh Ride, and she's at the North Pole, Alaska, 99705, and then phone number, and an email address. And for ours, we capture the date of birth, and we capture the nationality. Now, at this point, I'm going to say she's a toy assembler, and she works in the department of balloons, and she reports to Adam Manager, and her employee number is 1122, and her new hire date is September 30th. So now when I click Save Employee, you'll see the employee's been added, and then pops up an email to the CEO, copies HR, our subject line is as we said, and you can see here it provides all the information that we put in the email. So at this point, you just have to hit send. So that was pretty neat, but let's say you want to email everyone on the employee list about a new employee being hired. So if we look at this list, we'll see that all the employees have an email address in column J, which is also column 10. So we want to go back to this code, and basically we're going to tweak this little .to section here. There are a few ways to do this, but I find creating a loop to be the easiest way. So we need to dim a couple more variables. We're going to dim I as integer, and we're going to dim email as string. Now we also need to have last row, but we dimmed that previously, so we don't need to worry about doing it here. I'm going to add another note, and we're going to do this right here, showing that we're trying to find all of our email addresses. Now, we need to find our email addresses from our employees sheet, which is sheet 2. So we're going to do a with sheet 2, and then do our end with. We're going to define our last row equal to .cells, rows .count, and we'll start with column 1, .end, XL up, .row. Now, we also need to make sure that our email string is blank when it starts out. So I'll put email equals 2 quotes, and that will just make sure that it's blank. Now, for our loop, we will do for I equals 2. We want to start in row 2 because we want to ignore our header. To last row, and we're going to do -1. Our last row tells us the last row of our data, But our last row of data is actually our new employee, and we don't want to include that person in this email list. So I'm going to go ahead and do my next I so I don't forget it. Now we say email equals email. This is a placeholder for our string of addresses. So then we're going to enter the ampersand symbol, and then we're going to say dot cells I comma 10. So basically we're taking whatever row we're on, column 10, which is that column that has our email addresses. Then we're going to do another ampersand sign, and we're going to put into quotes a semicolon, because in Outlook, that's how we separate email addresses. Now, after this has looped through, it's going to capture all the email addresses into this email variable. So we need to go down here to our .to, and we're going to change this to just email. So it's going to return that string. Now I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this .cc just because we don't really need it. You can leave it if you want. In the .html body, we need to change it a bit because all our employees don't need to know all of this information. So I'll remove the employee number and the reports to references. So I'm going to get rid of employee number, and then down here, the employee number. Go all the way to here. And then I'll get rid of the reports too. And basically we can get rid of that new line item too. Now it would be nice to add a welcome message or something here as well, but we're just going to keep it basic for this example. So let's go ahead and test it. Click the run, and I'm going to add a new employee named Jimmy Elfkin. Address is 837 Jingle Lane, and he's in the North Pole as well. And it's 99705. His phone number is 867-555-5309. And his email address. And then we capture the date of birth and nationality. He's from Romania. Now he's also a toy inspector. He's in inflatables, and he reports to J Director. His employee number is 9087. And we're going to put a new hire date of October 1st. Now, when we go and hit Save Employee, we see the employees added. And then you can see everyone on our list except for Jimmy is shown here as well. So kind of a cool little thing there. You can change it and then hit send. I'm going to show you one more cool trick that you can use. What if we hire a new employee and we only want to let that employee's department know that they are hiring on? Well, let's go back to our code, and we're going to tweak this email variable a little bit more. All we need to do is add an if statement. The department is located in column N, or column 14. So we just need to check to see if this cell equals, over here, our department, which is Reg 13. If it does, then it will be added to the email variable. And if not, it's going to skip it. So let's look at our code again. So right here, we're still going to be in our for loop. And we are going to say if dot cells I comma 14 equal reg 13 dot value, then, and I'm going to add my end if, then it's going to be added to the email variable. If not, it's just going to skip it. So let's do a test again. Okay, so here we're going to add Chris Crinkle, address 4514, Airplane Road. He's still living in the North Pole. And his phone number is 823-555-6789. Email address will be chris.crinkle@company.com. His date of birth is going to be November 2nd, 1980, and he is from Germany. So now he's going to be a toy artist, and he's going to be in swing sets. And Sally supervisor is his supervisor. His employee number is 1357. New hire date is going to be September 1st, 2023. Now we hit save employee. The employee is added. And when this comes up, you'll see Jack Frost is the only one that's been notified about Chris, because when we close this, don't need to save the changes, you will see when we go back here, we said he's in swing sets. The only other person in swing sets is Jack Frost. So it's kind of cool. Just think of all that you can do with this code technique. I hope this coding venture has taught you a few new tricks and that you can find some use for this in your Excel programs. Please be sure to like this video and subscribe to my channel for more Excel VBA tutorials. Leave me a message in the comments section if you have any questions or topic suggestions. For now, have a great day.